Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Nick. This is You Don't Scare Me. This is a channel where we debunk some ghost videos, and that's exactly what we're going to be doing today. It's now 15 degrees in my apartment, up from 2 degrees this morning. So, without further ado, let's get cracking. Let's debunk some ghost videos. So it's very likely that she's got a string that's tied to the mirror in front of her. There are like little metal plates that keep the mirror on the wall if it's not just glued straight to the wall. And if it is, even easier. You just slide it down the corner until it won't go any further. You don't want to have your string going straight towards the camera or straight across beside the camera, because then if you add something to that, if it's going straight across, then you can go, oh, there's nothing above, there's nothing below. But the second you say, oh, there's nothing this way, then you've destroyed the illusion. So instead you add it at an angle, right? So then you say, there's nothing above, there's nothing below, and nothing to the side, nothing to the side. You put your hand like this and then fit it over the string like that, right? And then everybody's all like, whoa, that's crazy. But that's how it's done, right? So her hair is leaning on some line that she has around the mirror, or like attached to the mirror, and then it's off to the side, so that if she lifts her hand straight, like if you just, you know what I mean, you just pull the string to the right, and then your hair will lift up, and then when you release that, the tension goes away. You can see in the video that both of her hands are up, but she has the flash on, and the flash is there to obfuscate the view. You won't be able to see full details because of that. She's in a dark room with a light source behind her with the flash on, aimed at the mirror. Big bloom, you can't see anything. Any string you might see, they'll just be like, no, that's just a lens flare. These are all tricks that people use to fake these ghost videos. This is no different.
While this might look like another attempt at social media fame by faking a ghost video, it's important to look at the backstory and some hidden facts. The girl in question had just recently lost her grandmother, and while she was getting ready in front of the mirror, she noticed a strange, gentle pull on her hair. That was when she decided to record the bizarre incident on her phone. Secondly, and most freakishly, there is a delay in her shadow as she lifts her hand from the table. Did you notice it?
No, I didn't notice it. But now that you've pointed it out, doesn't it not just seem like that's more evidence towards video manipulation? I don't know why you think that a shadow being delayed is a sign of paranormal activity. It's a sign that the video has been messed with in some capacity.
Could they have been using fishing lines even though how the hair bounced suggests otherwise? Software masking seems very unlikely in this case too. Or perhaps it was the ghostly hand of her grandmother filling her hair one last time before following the light.
Asymmetric dominance tactic, or also known as the decoy effect. That's when you give two incredibly strange answers so that the third one seems the most reasonable. Only he's applied it in a method that counteracts the concept, right? So let me try it like this. Undead, ghost, ethereal energy of a departed grandmother interacting with a physical solid object without being itself captured on camera. A massive tornado of air that has circulated through her house to lift just those strands of hair or string. It's the decoy effect. The only problem is the first two options that he gave us are much more reasonable than the third one, so he kind of fucked that up. It's not the ghost of your grandmother. That's emotional manipulation. I doubt your grandmother's dead. I think that that's just been added just to make the video seem a little bit more authentic. I'm starting to believe it's actually a composite shot or something. The shadow moving independently from the hand is incredibly strange. However, there are multiple light sources. The light source being from the window behind her, from the light source on her cell phone itself, and then possibly a light source that might be above her, a dim bulb of some kind that might be also casting a shadow. Her hand lifting directly up in the air is most likely the reason why the shadow appears to be delayed, so I'm leaning much closer towards the string theory. It's not going to be a ghost. It's never going to be a ghost. And next time you decide you're going to film yourself encountering some sort of paranormal activity, try using the front-facing camera and don't have the flash on. Okay, put quite simply, this is just a person who's just outside of the IR range of this Wisecam Pan V2. That's what the camera is. The timestamp in the top left corner doesn't match. It doesn't work. That's not what the timestamp looks like. It is a Wisecam. I can tell because of the way that it is. I have a wealth of experience with many security cameras, especially security camera footage coming from these cameras. This is a Wisecam. It's cheap as hell, like $30 American. The person is outside of the IR range of the camera. They simply just stand there looking at their phone, leaning up against the wall, and then they decide now they're going to take the call. So then they step forward and put the phone up to their ear. This is not a ghost. This is just somebody who's just outside of the range, the infrared range. So the camera can't quite understand what's over there. Remember, this is a chip in a shitty $30 camera. It's interpreting what it's looking at. That's it.
At first glance, it looked like no more than a shadow cast by a nearby object. Suddenly, the seemingly lifeless figure creeps to life and slithers ominously across the room.
Now that you've seen it again that clearly, you can understand what I'm saying. It's a person. There's just not enough light in that room to fully capture the details of that person. So the camera is just mixing pixels around the person. Security cameras pause large portions of the scene as long as it's unchanging to save on resources and processing power. That's what's happening here. Additionally, the camera's infrared range cannot properly capture the person who's walking down the street. The key to determining that this is exactly what's happening is that as the headlights then illuminate the person, the camera suddenly fills and populates the area with the person's picture. Remember, once again, this is a computer chip in a security camera that is just interpreting the scenes based on what photons react on the CMOS sensor of the camera. Okay? The key indicator is that once they were illuminated, the camera was provided with enough light to realize that somebody was there. Before that moment, that scene was paused. That portion of the scene was paused, and so was the other side. Since the car had traveled past very rapidly, it only had a few frames of reference for that car. The car ghosted along, which is when multiple frames are duplicated along a path, because the camera doesn't really know whether it needs to update the image or not. Since the camera passed before it finalized its recognition software, it re-paused that portion of the screen to continue to save the resources. That's why the person disappears after. It's not a ghost. It's a shitty security camera.
Aqui do nada, a gente veio por ali, aí eu senti uma presença estranha aqui, entendeu? Galera, os mosquitos estão matando a gente aqui, velho. Tá preula, mano. Olha, tô tudo picado. A gente deixou a câmera bem no esquema aqui. E nessa parte aqui, eu senti uma presença bem forte, né? Esse negócio assim, tá... Mano, o negócio lá, o negócio passando lá. Peraí.
You're in a publicly accessible cemetery with a baseball bat. It is reasonable to assume that there may be additional people within the publicly accessible cemetery. You do not have dominion over the space, and you cannot control whether or not additional transients might enter or exit the cemetery. Therefore, any additional people that you detect within the cemetery must be put to the highest level of scrutiny in your footage. Don't just have somebody walk through the back of your frame and then claim it's a ghost. It's unsubstantiated and insubstantial evidence. There is no reason for any of us, you, me, or anybody else who's watching this guy's channel, to believe that there is no other explanation.
Caralho, mano, que aquilo, Vinícius? Vamos ver se tem alguma coisa ali. Cheguei. Mano, eu vi um bagulho passando daqui pra cá. Mano, será que tem alguém ali? Tem alguém aí? Te juro, Vinícius, mano, te juro.
Do you think that it's reasonable to assume that running towards somebody with a light camera and a baseball bat would have them inspired to respond to you? If it was me, I'd be bolting for the exit.
Eu não sei se era uma pessoa ou se era alguma coisa, cara. Mano. Eu vi, Vinícius, passando, cara. Ai, seu viado, eu pensei que era alguém que estava aqui do nada. Te juro, Vinícius, passou.
Would you look at that? A perfectly well-lit walking path. Almost as if it's possible that people might, I don't know, take a shortcut through the cemetery on their way home or to work.
Pra cá, mano. Deixa eu ver se não tem ninguém aqui. Galera, eu não tô brincando. Eu vi alguma coisa passando. Eu pensei que até que era alguém, esses caras que vêm no cemitério à noite. Gótico. Você não viu? Você não viu, você tava de costas, eu acho. Não vi.
Who or what the hell was that?
I will allow a tiny amount of space to acknowledge that it looks a little strange. But my answer is still that it's another pedestrian who's just transiting the scene on their way home or to work. Maybe they're fully clad in clothing like I do to prevent mosquito bites. You know, like the mosquitoes that were biting them earlier.
Skeptics were quick to jump on the comments section claiming it to be CGI. And while they do have a point, since it's easier than ever to create ghostly figures using video editing tricks.
While that's true, I do boldly state that it is not as easy as just picking up a copy of DaVinci Resolve and then boom, you have the ability to get ghosts in there. There is a little bit of information that you have to learn before you're able to create a convincing ghost. I don't think that CG was used in this particular clip. However, I've been wrong before.
Isn't it spine-chilling enough to think that this could truly be one of the many lost souls wandering the cemetery? We analysed the video, and to be fair, if you look closely enough, when a shadowy figure passes by the metal bars, it seems a bit dodgy that some of them go darker, but could the camera quality cause that?
I am willing to say that it does seem that there may be something to the CG element. I'm watching this alongside you. I'm not watching the video and then recording my reactions. I'm recording my reactions during the watching of the video. Can you imagine the time sink that it would take to watch the entire video, then start cutting in with my opinions? I would have to watch the video, then watch the video again to know the timing to insert my comments. So everything you're seeing is the natural development of my own opinion during the progression of the video. So I think that might be very interesting for you to understand. It does seem a little strange that the bars dim, but I do think that it's possible, or at least it's reasonable, that the camera quality itself may be the reason for the bars dimming. When a dark shape transits behind an opaque surface, the color, and it is a CMOS sensor. It is capturing the light from the environment to be able to present you with the information that is being delivered right now, the video. So a camera has to interpret the space in front of it. The reason why we have such shitty videos whenever it comes to nighttime shots or nighttime recordings is simply just because there's a limitation in a camera in that it requires a substantial amount of light to be able to capture the image ahead of you. A camera cannot adapt to the darkness like our eyeballs can. So any sufficiently lit space will be captured in crisp, clear detail. But if the only source of light that is provided is the one that's on the camera itself, anything that is past the fall-off range of the light will be captured in varying levels of detail. And this is a perfect example of that, I suppose. I still firmly believe that it is another person who's walking through the cemetery. However, I will leave room to be wrong. And remember, I reserve the right to be incorrect. While I can see why some people might think that that looks bizarre and terrifying, like a ghost, it seems more reasonable to assume that it's somebody within the car whose face is now reflecting on the glass. I mean, you have to understand the light source is coming from inside the car and reflecting off of the glass. Anything outside of the car would be much more difficult to be seen because it's reflecting the light back into the camera. It would be much more reasonable to assume that there is a reflection of somebody within the car being reflected on the inside of the glass back towards the camera. Turn your light on inside and try to record outside at night. It's not going to work. So he's recording himself playing the Silent Hill theme, right? He's recording only the left hand because he's got the camera in his right hand. The purpose of the video is to record himself playing the piano. Why did he lift the camera? You're recording the piano, not your TV screen. So when you lifted the camera to record the TV screen, you knew something was going to be behind you. You know what I mean?
Now that is one hell of a reason to freak right out. Imagine living in a haunted house where objects move and strange sounds emanate out of thin air, but then you capture something like this on camera. A shadowy figure that manifests behind you when you least expect.
See, there aren't really enough pixels for us to make an absolute determination. It seems... It almost... You know what it looks like to me? It looks like this. It looks like he's sitting on his chair like this. And it's the chair that's the thing behind him. I think that's exactly what it is.
bet you missed it, didn't you?
The cut was right here. That's gonna do it for this video. Thank you for watching. If you like the video, like the video. If you really like the channel, then subscribe to it. Last Sunday's video was the last video that I recorded last year and scheduled. Love you. See you tomorrow.